And joining us now of the people, Mike Lindell, entrepreneur, MyPillow.com, close confidant of President Trump. Mike, thanks for joining us on Of the People Live.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So we just had the chairman on from the New Hampshire GOP, Chris Ager. Give me your quick takeaways from last night's election. We know it's historic. We know it's over. It's only a question of time. But what are you seeing from this election? I mean, what does it tell us, really?
Well, it tells you that Nikki Haley should just call it a day and everybody unite and put all our resources into getting our great real President Donald Trump back in office. I know I had teams up in New Hampshire, but I was there for a lot of different reasons. And one of them, as you know, is I'm looking at securing our election platforms. And there was a lot of stuff that went wrong up in New Hampshire. We're not saying anything right now, but we were monitoring things. And of course, with the electronic machines and working with the Secretary of State's office there. And but we've got some good things that came out of there for our path moving forward, because I really believe New Hampshire will be one of the first states to be completely paper ballots hand counted by 2024. They're about a third or half the state is already there. And we've got over 200 counties across the country already committed to that in 2024. Of course, we don't put it out there everywhere or they get attacked for it. But so I was really encouraged by a lot of stuff up in New Hampshire with my team. I'm getting the feedback from my teams, of course. But I think I was obviously glad with the outcome. I think it's enough of a shellacking that I know that you got your Foxes of the world now going, hey, he is almost like an incumbent president. So, if you take that out of the picture, of course, he didn't do as good as he should have done. They're trying to put out a false narrative to all of us, and it's disgusting.
Wow.
Yeah, I understand that. And I do want to talk about, you have this whole effort to get into election integrity. I think you had a conference in Missouri. And I know it's such a huge project. Talk about that a little bit, because one of the things when I talk to the people is there's just not a confidence level. And I don't want to talk about 2020. I mean, I think your opinion and mine are probably the same as to what happened there. But I mean, at this point, we've got to play it forward. So how do you give the people a confidence level that their vote matters, right? Because that's really what we're talking about.
That's a great question.
Here's where I've been since January of 21. I've been attacked relentlessly, and my company has every day. We've been canceled and everything else. And maybe back then they thought, oh, Mike Lindell just wants to overturn the 2020 election. Well, I was on Jimmy Kimmel in the spring of 21, and he said, Mike, if your friend Donald Trump had been selected, like you're saying, would you still be sounding an alarm? And I said, absolutely, I would. So what you're talking about in August, it was over a year in the making of a plan to secure our elections. And I announced that in August. And since then, my pillow has just been attacked more than any time in history because they want my voice silenced. And what this plan is, and you can see it at lindellplan.com, we lay it all out there. And in a nutshell, what it is we've approached every county basically in the country, all 3,143 of them, over the past 3 years. And I have over 300,000 people on the ground through my election crime bureau I built up and a Cause of America. All these groups were like the hub of a wheel. So when we approached all these, you get all of these pushback. Most of the time, the pushback is from what I call uniparty Republicans. You get so far and they go, we really like the machines. Remember, the Democrats wanted the machines gone for 2 decades. They wanted them gone. And there's movies out about this, like Kill Chain and so on. Yep. So what we've done is I'm doing a speech this coming Monday in Las Vegas, 2 days before the RNC winter get together. And my whole team got invited there, and we're going to show the 168, whoever shows up, here's what you all should have been doing for the last 3 years, securing your platforms that you play on or that everybody votes on, and to get the playing field level. And then we're going to say, but you know what? we're 3 years ahead of you. All we need now is for you to embrace us when we come to your county and come to your state, because what we're doing, we're going to go back around to every single county and basically a sales pitch to them and say, hey, in light of this, this, and this, now will you go to paper ballots, hand counted? Most counties in the United States can make this vote from the county up. There's a few states where it's Secretary of State down, but we're dealing with them on a whole different level with lawsuits and so on. So I'm very confident, and I'm telling everybody, this is, not only securing our platforms as much as can be done, as much as can be done. Let's say we get a third of the country paper ballots hand counted. Well, and then you have our great real president, Donald Trump. He's going to get historical votes like he has already. And how much could they do? How much could they do if you get a repeat of other elections? We don't know. It's, we can only do everything we can now. But I am very confident. If I didn't have 3 years of behind us, so to speak, those weren't wasted time. I put in 18 hours a day, and so did tens of thousands of other people every day for the last 3 years, trying to get to where we want to get to, which is paper ballots, hand counted. One of the things, too, everyone says the RNC hasn't done anything and all this stuff. Well, last January, when I ran for RNC chair, one good thing that came out of that was I got to know the 168, and we got them to push through a resolution which was passed a week after my event in August in Missouri. And that resolution, everybody, is that they passed is paper ballots, hand counted, no machines, precinct level, same day voting, and signature required. Now that would be a perfect world. That's the elections end. And so now when we go back to these counties, we just want the GOP to embrace us rather than block us. Embrace us. This is the only plan. This is the only plan, and it will work. And we just have three great examples, you guys. I want to bring this up. Argentina, one judge made a ruling to go to paper ballots last summer, and they switched from from machines to paper ballots. They did it in 4 months, in less time than the Netherlands did it back in the day. And they had a free and fair election, and they were done counting in one day. It was beautiful. And then just 2 weeks ago, what did we have? Taiwan, the gold standard of elections in the world, was beautiful. And they did it one day too. We had our representatives over there in Taiwan. And our system that we've developed here in the U.S. by one on my team named Linda Rand, we've used it here in election in the U.S., and it's better than all of them put together. We did it in Osage County, Missouri, Democrats, Republicans working together. It was beautiful, done at the same time as the machines with 100% accuracy. So that's really good. And then the last thing I want to say is things are starting to happen out there. You have this judge in Georgia that's Obama appointed, and that judge a few months ago ruled, this case has been sitting there for 3 years, and Brad Rassenberger, the Secretary of State Republican of Georgia, which I have a lot of things to say about him, but that would take the whole show. Just a terrible, terrible person, a terrible politician. And I got other names for him. But anyway, he has blocked this from the people, this report, which was, and anyway, this judge ruled that this case would go forward. She ruled like in November and said it's going to go forward. And these experts said that these machines are vulnerable. And she said, if you question them, you're not a conspiracy theorist. I was able to take off my tinfoil hat on national TV. It was a great day. Well,
I still have my tinfoil hat on, and just because I wear a tinfoil hat doesn't make me a conspiracy theorist, is my line.
Right, that's right. But last week, everybody, if you just seen the big news last week, in that case started January 9th, Professor Halderman hacked into the computer and flipped votes with a ballpoint pen right in front of the judge. Now, that should have been worldwide news. Instead, it was suppressed. It was
Say this again. You are so full of information. Say that last piece. Say that last piece of again, because I want to be very clear on what you just said. What happened last?
Right. This was last week, everybody, in this case in Georgia, and you can check it out on social media. Check it out and look at my. We've got it posted everywhere. The Gateway Pundit had reporters in the courtroom. The judge let the Professor Halderman This guy's been involved in, and by the way, he's not he's more left than right in his politics. So it's not, and these are Democrats that are the plaintiffs in this case. So they let him have the machine there, the voting machine. He hacked into it in less than 5 minutes, I think even less than that, with a ballpoint pen and flipped votes right in front of the judge and everyone in that courtroom. And this should have been worldwide news. It's over. It should be over. Okay. They're vulnerable. You know, I've been to Senate hearings where I was there with the other companies and the big hometown boys. The biggest one in the country is ES&S out of Omaha, Nebraska. And they were asked directly. They were asked directly by the Secretary of State of Louisiana. Said, "Are your machines better than the other ones, Dominion, Hart, and Smartmatic, all these? And you know, are they more secure?" And here's his quote: "All voting machines are vulnerable. They all have back doors." He said this, everybody. I mean, this should be, if you're Fox Newses of the world, this is where we're not. This is what's hurt us more, is your conservative media out there that won't report about our elections or election platform. It's disgusting.
I mean, if the guys who produce it, if the people who sell these and make these machines are telling you that they're not safe or that they're vulnerable, let me put it that way, that they're vulnerable, shouldn't we believe them?
Right, exactly. And, you know, you got just a couple of the companies that are in the limelight because they sued everybody, and that's what started lawfare in our country back in January of 21. But these other companies, if I was another company like ES&S, I would say, "Hey, my machines are more secure. Just come on over this way." But they didn't say that. They said, "Hey, we're all vulnerable. We're all hackable." And one of the things everybody needs to know in this courtroom too, it was also said that these things, these are these experts now. They said, and this is his expertise is on hacking in, not the cyber experts that I have that grab numbers and stuff. But he said, "Hey, when you hack into one, you're hacking into them all because they all go horizontal network throughout, let's say it's Georgia or throughout the whole U.S. They all go horizontal like any other computers." Remember, they lied to us and said they're not on the internet, right? That's what we were told. They're not on the internet. Well, now I'll go back to what I will tell you this about New Hampshire. Up in New Hampshire just last night, or actually this was earlier, maybe on Monday, there were problems with a couple of machines there, and we had people on the ground. They called the Secretary of State's office, and these are in charge of their elections, and they said, "Hey, this machine is doing this." It was like a double voting or whatever it was. They go, "Oh, no." The Secretary goes, "Oh, no." And then 10 minutes later, they called them back and said, "We fixed the problem." How do you fix the problem remotely if they're not hooked up to the internet? Come on.
I think that election integrity is the key thing. Ericka?
I was just going to say, what is it? Hanlon's razor, or one of those razors, basically, that it's like, if the answer is too complicated or doesn't make sense, it probably isn't true. That's the gist of it. And so when you hear these excuses and you hear this stuff, you just go, okay, if you're not committing fraud, if you're not doing something illegal, you're not helping your case. You're making this look as bad as possible. If you want us to believe you, do a better job.
Right. Well, here's the thing, everybody, too. It's like the presentation that I'm going to make to the 168 on this coming Monday. My whole team's going to be there. And let's say you're head of your county and you're in charge of your elections. We're going to approach them, and they would always say to us why they want to, "I don't want to go to paper ballots because it'll take too long." No, it's the same. We proved it can be done at the same time as the machine. "I don't want to go there because it's going to cost more." No, it's 10 times less. "I don't want to go there." Whatever reason they would say no, we're going to contradict that now. And one of the things I want people to know is when you have deviations in mathematics, and you have to explain them, especially impossible ones. I'll give you 3 examples I'm going to use in Las Vegas this coming Monday. One is in the state of Georgia, a primary a year and a half ago. This nice lady, she's a Democrat. There were 3 Democrats running. Her and her husband got 0 votes in her own precinct. 0 votes. Now, I always make a joke and say, if they would have just gave her 2 votes, they would have said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, the only one that loves you is your husband." But they had to look into it because it was mathematically impossible. They called it a programming error. Another thing is this, and let's just take a bigger example. The state of Pennsylvania has more votes than voters. Now, everybody, this should be easy for everyone to understand, and they've done it in the last 3 elections. They cannot turn in their electors if you have more votes than voters. Imagine if we had a vote, and I had 10 people line up to vote, and they're all going to vote. We'll use Biden, Trump, and we know 7 of them voted for. They all vote, and now we go to the machine spits out, and there's 15 votes, but you only had 10 people walk in the room to vote. Now, you can't explain that. You have to explain that. You have to go. It's like balancing the books in a bank. You got to go explain that. And you know, they can sit there and everybody, you know, deviations that are 1 in a million, they've discredited those. I'm talking about impossible. People need to hear impossible deviations. Okay, those are impossible. You can't have more. And so these are the things that we're looking at. Here's the problems when you have states like another computer system when it was our voter rolls, and you have like Wisconsin, everybody, 7.2 million names are on their voter rolls, names. But if every single person in Wisconsin that was eligible to vote and register, it's 4.1 million. Why do you have 3 million other names on there? It doesn't make sense. You know, these are atrocities that we need to fix our election systems. And let's just say that for instance, that there was no hacking and no cheating. Let's just do that for a second, okay? When you have a mistake in a computer, computers make, you know, glitches all the time. There are glitches. They had one just in the last election up in Pennsylvania in November where they said they had all these problems and they called it a computer error. It was a programming error. Well, if you make an error in a computer, it can cost a whole election. Where if you make an error, but you know, with people making an error for a few votes here and there, it's a lot different. We're in an age where
and there's a paper trail.
You know, and there's a paper trail, and you can find it. Our system of hand-counted paper ballots under camera, that is your audit, everybody, and we all get to watch. It's transparent, and we're going to get there. Anybody, a few years ago, everybody just go, keep going, Mike, keep going, but they didn't want to get behind the effort because they thought it was an impossible task to completely redo our election systems, right? And they can't imagine that anybody would do this to our country or that they would hack in. You guys, we're in the age of artificial intelligence, these big conglomerates like Google and all these things. I said, my pillow, our computers get attacked all the time. I mean, do people can wrap their head around a credit card breach, right? A national credit card breach, but they going, oh yeah, and then what happens then is they come in, insurance covers it all and all this, and it's just a money problem. The hackers or the good hackers patch it up, find out why it happened, you put more protection on it, and you wait for the next time they break through. Yeah. But when it happens in an election, you can lose your whole country. Forever.
Yeah, that's what the stakes if you get, you know, if Spotify gets hacked or whatever are so much less than if our elections are hacked. We're talking billions, trillions of dollars. We're talking about war and famine and like
and
why would we not protect? Why wouldn't we protect our elections the same way we protect our home or our bank accounts?
That's exactly right. And the government, everybody deemed this critical infrastructure. Our voting platforms are critical infrastructure. And all you got to do is look around the world. Do you know how happy they are in Argentina that one judge made a ruling and changed their country? They're free now. People get to vote instead of, you know, the what if. What if they were always controlled by that one press of a button? And then you got to look at, too, if you have let's just say it's a major malfunction. You know, a major malfunction or whatever. Well, that can cost, you know, tens of millions or tens of thousands of votes where a mistake in hand counting.
Mike, when you say major malfunction, you mean like on election night 2020 when all 5 state systems went down at roughly the same time?
No, they were ordered. They were ordered down. They were ordered to shut him down because Donald Trump was going to win despite the steal.
I'm sorry to goad you, but I knew. I mean, like I said, you and I think the same.
Right.
But let me change topics real quick on you. You're going out to the RNC. I guess that's the winter meeting in Vegas. But you also ran for RNC party chair.
Right.
Had you won and been the RNC party chair, what changes would you have made? What would you do differently? I mean, there's been a lot of criticisms of Ronna McDaniels. I would argue a lot of it justified. But Mike Lindell wins the RNC chair vote. What do you do? What's different? What changes?
Everything I've been doing right now without their funding. That's it. Everything I poured, everything I had into securing
election integrity.
Election platform.
What else?
That is the number one thing, because you know what? All the donors and stuff, all the money they need for their traditional little money machine and all their campaigns, that's what they lost. That would have brought it back, going, hey, they would have got some hope back. Remember, at that point, they had 5 elections in a row they had lost. 5. But actually, they had won all 5. I did a speech when I ran for RNC chair there and said, you guys didn't lose, and I don't care how much money you spend frivolously. It doesn't matter when it can cheat when you're not even looking at your playing field or what you're playing on, to make things. And they, the RNC, they had done something that last January. I'll give an example. They passed a resolution against ranked choice voting, and that immediately got 7 states that my team was fighting. We stopped fighting our own party, and they said, okay, we'll get rid of it. We'll stop it. These are things that I would have done, and I would have accelerated. Now, did we go on? Did I keep doing without them? Absolutely. But the problem is we have to fight the RNC and the GOP when we go to these states. I'll give an example. Here's a perfect example. Cleburne County, Arkansas, big old red state, right? 70% red, when in actuality it's 82% red. Now we go in there, and Cleburne County decides they make a ruling, or they voted in, they're getting rid of the machines, paper ballots, hand counted. Now all the other counties in Arkansas were going to follow suit. This is last January and February. And a Republican senator named Kim Hammers, he went and got a bill shoved through within a couple weeks, and it says, here's the bill, everybody. If you go to paper ballots in the state of Arkansas, we're defunding your county. Now think about this. This is the Republican Party says you can't make this up. So we get tired of my team going and fighting them. When I ran for RNC chair, I thought, you know what? I got to get to know these guys, because why are they fighting us at every level the last couple of years, right? And I made Ronna made one promise. She goes, I promise I'll work with Mike Lindell if I win. She did keep that promise in the respect that she didn't go against that resolution that they passed 168-0, everybody, per paper ballots, hand counted, same day voting, and signature required. Now think of this. When we go back to these counties now, and a Republican like Kim Hammer goes, we love the machines, we want to keep them. Well, you just voted 168-0 to get rid of them. Why? You will stand out like a sore thumb. It'll be like Ghostbusters. We got one. We got someone that's part of the uniparty. It's going to be a filter for that. One of the things, too, I want to bring up at the RNC chair was very important, and this is important when we get to the 2024 election, get polling companies that we trust. But the Rasmussen poll came out the night before the vote, and I had doubled Harmeet and Ronna put together the vote for me. Now, the next day...
in California.
No. Yeah, this was across. It was they did the poll across the whole country about who do you want for RNC chair. This was the Rasmussen poll. So the Rasmussen poll came out. The whole country wanted Mike Lindell, and I doubled Harmeet and Ronna. Now, the next day they vote, and I get 4 votes of the 168. So the media comes to me now. This is great. It worked out perfectly. It was like a divine thing. The media comes to me and they go, Mike, you only got 4 votes. What do you say about that? And I said, well, you've seen the polls yesterday. Once again, the GOP didn't do what the people wanted. The people wanted me to be chair. And I said, and then Jimmy Kimmel asked me on TV, he goes, Mike, do you trust that election there? And I go, absolutely. It was paper ballots and there was no machines.
The interesting thing, right? What's the old saying that Stalin said? It doesn't matter who it doesn't who votes doesn't count, but who counts the vote matters.
Counts the votes. That's right. And we all need to count the votes. We all need to see this. We have the technology now where we can live stream, and here's the count, and we all watch it. You see, we have the most secure paper ever developed, by the way, that my team has developed. This paper is better than money. It's so secure. I mean, the system we have that we can put in and just plug it in is plug in. All we need is, not to be blocked or whatever with it. And you can find out LindalePlan.com. It's all laid out. There's a white paper in this, and this isn't something that we should try. We're already doing it.
And here's the thing. Most of my friends would tell you that they don't care whether a Democrat or Republican wins. I mean, their beliefs are their beliefs. But at the core fundamental level, if you don't trust the accuracy of free and fair elections, which is the bedrock and foundation of everything else in this country that flows from it, and the whole Dominion voting system or smart voting systems or whatever, and the fact that, again, the systems in 2020 just happened to be in the 5 key states, right? Didn't happen in any other states. Happened in the 5 key states that will determine the winner in the Electoral College. They stop, they start, Trump's ahead, they start again, Trump's behind by X amount of votes. But here's my next question for you. Along those lines, what's your thought about mail-in ballots, about ballot harvesting, because those are the other sort of new modalities that have been introduced to further, I would argue, destabilize the confidence level in the voting system.
Okay, I'm going to give you, first I'm going to tell you what you said there. It only happened in those 5 states. It happened in every state in the country in 2020 and in 2022. When you skim a casino, back in the mafia days, when you skim a casino, you have to take from everything. You can't just take from one machine or it'll stand out like a sore thumb. Even if no matter what you do, you have to bring it all, bring the water level down, okay, and skim off the top. Well, that being said, all these other things you're naming are tools. You need so-called product for these. If you have the computers, you also need to be able to pull names from the other computer system, the dirty voter rolls and stuff. Ballot harvesting, which we fought to make it illegal. Even the RNC fought and got it illegal in Arizona. The worst thing you could ever do. Anyone that hears it says ballot harvesting, wrong. If you want to go back to traditional things, like that, the Democrat Party is way ahead on that on cheating, okay? The ballot harvesting, one of the worst things you can ever do. And I will say this, everything we know, everything my team has known, which there's guys on my team have forgotten more about evidence than people will ever know. It's massive. You vote day up unless you absolutely cannot. If now ballot chasing is different, everybody, and we're going to explain this out. And ballot chasing is you're going there and you're getting people that maybe weren't going to vote. You're basically going out and making sure that they're going to get out to vote. And hey, if you're going to get out to vote, go vote in person.
You mean like go to the nursing home and make sure they get to the polls?
No,
I'm serious. Not taking their ballots, meaning because GOTV, right? Traditional GOTV was always get out the vote, and sometimes you had to bust them to the polls, but the people at least voted in person, right?
Right.
So
exactly. You need to get, and it's a lot harder for them to cheat if they vote in person with the machines, with the computer. Now, what they did when they pulled the stunt with Kerry Lake in Arizona in 2022, where 242 machines at the same time went bad. So everybody coming through in there and going, they just put a setting on there, all those machines, and that's in the courts right there. That's still, by the way, still getting appealed and still running through the court. But basically, when you came in and said, your ballot doesn't work, put it in the box. That now became a mail-in ballot that can do anything they want. So they basically converted that.
No chain of custody.
Right. And the narrative they put out was, hey, you better vote early because what if the machines go back like Arizona? Well, you know what? You need to vote day up. We caught him that day. When I woke up that day, I go, yes, it was even on Fox News, the machines have problems. We can't use them. If there's a problem there with machines, you're not going to have a problem with paper ballots, hand counted. You've got, and you're not, but you are a machine. Something goes wrong there. In that case, 242. Let's say it wasn't done on purpose, which it was. But if it wasn't, then why use them? If you're going to have you're going to have a race car, the Indy 500. Yeah, and all of a sudden you had all these problems with the cars. What, do you just not run the Indy 500 that day? Or do you look under the engines and you say, hey, we got a problem with these engines? But the problem is these companies won't let us look under inside and say, what's the problem here? You know, and it's been the biggest cover up of the biggest crimes in history. But we have a pathway forward, and it's a beautiful pathway forward. And if we didn't have everything we have right now, with the plan and the everything that's fell into place, with, you got examples now of Argentina, of Taiwan, you've got examples right here in the U.S. where we used our system we developed. Everyone should embrace it. Everyone should embrace it. And we don't have to go to the media anymore. We don't have to get the word out. All we have to do is convince county by county, which we're going to do. And by the way, we're all going to do it at the same time. If you guys know, when I reached out for cast vote records, I did an announcement to the whole country, and we got these cast vote records, which come directly out of the machines, and they're 100% proof either you had computer manipulation or not. Everyone we got from 2020 had computer manipulation. So now the counties are going, oh, they don't want to give out these cast vote records. It's like if you miss a football game, and you went and see the play-by-play, well, or the timeline of the game. Well, if you had 7-7 in the second quarter, and all of a sudden third quarter it's 7-3, you're going, wait a minute, what happened here? Okay, and then you find out that all the games were the same. Now it's funny because we had pushback on that too. States like South Dakota, we couldn't get one cast vote record. Places that we reached out to, they attacked me. Mike Lindell's going to ruin our elections. He's asking under the Freedom of Information Act, he's making the clerks be so busy. San Francisco Township in California put them right up on their website. And said, hey, it's the public's information. Cast vote records were set up so we had a record. We actually had a record that the machines would spit out. I'm sorry that they're all corrupt, but at least we had a record.
Mike, here's my question. You talk about your team. How big is this effort? How big is this team behind you? And if you don't mind me asking, because I know you're putting your money into this. I mean, how much money have you put into this? And my third question in all of this is, how do you get beyond the stonewalling of the media to get this information out there? Because that's really the issue. Because I think most Americans, most Americans are fairly unbiased and fairly objective, and if you can get it to them, because you've got to get it through the media around the media. Reagan was, as an example, was always able to get around the media and speak directly to the American public. How big's your team? How much money you got behind this effort so far? And how do you get over the media and get directly to the American people?
Well, let me answer that. I developed Lindell TV and frankspeech.com. That was and that's got over 3 million people over there now that watch. And that's when when the regular media went silent on me, I had to use the left to attack me every day, but I was getting the word out through that. So what we've done though with the plan over the last 3 years, now we have over 300,000 people. We're like a hub of a wheel. It goes to all 50 states. Basically, almost every county of the United States, and these are all different groups where we're like the hub, the voice, where I talk to them every Monday night, and we plan strategy. I tell them, here's what we need to do, right? Well, then you have that reach. And I set up the Election Crime Bureau, which I fund, which is lawyers and cyber guys and any help that these counties need to get these things done. We take all the information. I have the apps now. If you go Mike Lindell app, I have a Courage app where people can do their own, you find out what's going on in your own backyard and everything. So we're getting the word out that way. But here's the key. With the plan, I don't need to get the word out to the country. I only need to go back to these county officials now. We're going to go back to this county. It's going to two-step process here. We're going to all do it at once. This is what I told my team a month ago. We're going to do it all at once where we all approach the counties at the same time. Here's the petition within the county. All the people in the county want to go paper ballots, hand counted. We're going to basically give them our sales pitch. Now, the one thing that had to be taken out of there was the Republicans that were blocking us. Hopefully, this 168 will embrace our team like they should have been doing all the time. And now we're going to go back to all the counties at once, probably the end of February, early March. They can make immediate decisions within their county. Hey, we're dropping the machines. We're going to paper ballots, hand counted. Our teams are there to train them, to help them. And how much money do I have in? I've got over myself, every dime I had in the world, $40 million in there. And I was very public when I ran out of money to fund that. So they, that's when I finally reached out to the public. Hey, you want to help? LindellPlan.com. They can help there. And so far, it's been the micro donors that have helped, the people that care about our country, because we're 90% there. Nobody's
give us that web address again.
Yeah, LindellPlan.com.
PLAN. Lindell.
LindellPlan.com. Everybody, you can help out there by donation, or you can learn the whole plan and then share it with everybody you know. You need to get educated on what the plan is and how it's working. We've been basically, this plan started 3 years ago. We're so far ahead. We're 90% done. What we have left to do is kind of, you guys believe it or not, is pretty much, I think, the easier part. As long as we get the Republicans not to block us, the GOP quit blocking us. Quit going. We shouldn't have to go into South Dakota with Governor Christie Noem, and we can't get cast vote records. I mean, I expect that out of my home state of Minnesota, but I don't expect it out of these red states like Alabama. I went down to Alabama, you guys. Alabama, red state, right? I approached their Secretary of State back then named John Merrill, and I showed him in the 2020 election on his voter rolls. These are people, because I have every voter roll in the United States, who registered, who voted, and who was taken off. I bought them all, okay? So now, this is an example I'll give you. In a red state, I said, John, look at, you had 4,622 people that voted here. This is what your numbers say that voted, that were over 110 years old. And obviously it's not true. They used their name. But John said, well, Mike, we live pretty good here in Alabama, don't we? And I'm going, are you serious? This isn't funny. You make a joke about this? And so we're fighting, and then you get to these states that go, well, Donald Trump won. We don't have any problem here in our state. Donald Trump won. What does that have to do with anything of our election platform? This is not a Democrat or a Republican thing. We need to secure our elections so we all trust our elections.
So we get it right.
I have no problem who's elected as long as they're elected, not selected.
Right.
Ooh, that was
Mike,
good.
I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. This has been fascinating, and I think we'd love to have you back on and talk about this some more. So you're going to be out in LA next? I think you're going to be in Vegas next week, and then you're going to roll this plan out.
You'll see Mr. Jay Shepard there,
and you will see Mr. Jay Shepard there.
He's one of the 168. So
right on, absolutely. I got to know a lot of them, and I'm telling you, of the 168, there's about a third that are these uniparty establishment really bad. This middle third that kind of go where the winds blow, and then you have some that really do have the people's back, and they want to secure our elections. And these are amazing people that care about our country, and they see where the problem is. Everything comes from our elections, everybody. You can sit and talk about. That's one thing. If you come to donate at LindellPlan.com, we're not out to save the whales. We're going to do that maybe later on. We're out to secure our elections. Every dollar goes to secure our election platforms. And if I didn't, I wouldn't even ask for money if I had any more, because I was going just fine. But it took so many resources and everything. And it's, what I'm finding too is people back then were going, oh, this just seems so keep going, Mike, but it just seems so overwhelming to change everything. It's not. I've been through. It's not overwhelming when you realize what we already have and how the plan lays out. And all we need is help now. We need is help now.
Folks, LindellPlan.com. Mike, thank you so much for joining us on of the people live. We'd love to have you back on. There's so much more to talk about, but you have been not only a fire hose but a patriot, and thank you for what you did.
I'll come back anytime. Let me know.
I want to have you back on after the RNC meeting, and I want you to identify the third that actually have the people's back. I want you to name names. How's that? Keep notes.
I will.
Let's name names because sunshine solves all ills in my world.
That's right.
And you know what? Rather than calling out the bad ones, I like that. I can give you a name of everyone.
I just want the good ones.
The good ones. I really like that.
Mike, thank you so
got it.
much for joining us.
Yep, thanks for having me on. See ya.
Absolutely.
Thank you.